Ah, ¿calentar? Pues bueno, no te entendí. No,
¿Le vas a llamar?
no. Podría conectarme con él aquí, pero no.
Yeah. Hope you want to. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay. Yeah. The last kid. I don't mind it. They all watch this. Just a little bad. I haven't seen that.
Is it chilly? It was, winter. What? Winter, it was, well, they're coming out. It was cold. For hangar salaries.
Just like, you know, event. Yes.
Well, thank you for coming out. In October of this past year, starting October 1st, I made the trip to Chile, as most of you here helped with that trip, prayed about it, and contributed financially. The church did contribute financially, and I appreciate that. You're going to see mostly pictures and of the people that I met, the people that I've known for years, places that I worked, visited and worked at, people that I worked with, things that we accomplished. And I think that by you seeing pictures, you seeing some of these people, some of the areas that I was in, is going to help you appreciate the work. And you're smiling because of that picture, right? Chile. And that picture there is just to illustrate the size of the country, although that probably doesn't illustrate it properly. This might, though. It's 4,000, over 4,000 kilometers long, north to south. Now, if you want to figure that out in miles, then we're going to have to do that on your own. I don't know, but it's big. Usually, when I travel to Chile, I have to plan it where I go from city to city very close by and eventually make it from north to south. But there are occasions, as was this time, that I have to take some plane rides because it is from as long as flying from one country to another country or Washington, D.C. to New York. It is a huge country. And it's made up of three countries originally: Peru, Bolivia, and then what you now have is Chile. And because of these three countries coming together, there's all different kinds of cultures. It is predominantly of German ancestry. So most of the people there are as white as you are and the same eye colors as you possess. And their food is very Wisconsin-like, as far as sausage and sauerkraut, cabbage, uh, that type of food. Very, very German and Polish. And then another group of the population is made up of the Peruvian Indians and the Bolivian Indians. So those are the darker, shorter people. And each one of these blue areas represents the indigenous population. And it doesn't really mean much because uh, they're all the same when it comes to the gospel. But if you can see, you might not be able to see it from where you're sitting, there is an area called O'Higgins, Ohiggins. That tells you the European influence by the name of O'Higgins. The rest of the names there are indigenous: Coquimbo, Atacama, Maui, and Los Lagos. So the first place that I visited, I arrived in the capital city of Santiago. That's where I flew into, and then took a bus ride, about 8-hour bus ride to Talca. Now, bus rides in these countries are not like the Greyhound that we have in the U.S. People that ride Greyhound in the U.S. use Greyhound because they either can't get a driver's license for obvious reasons, or trying to, I guess, hide from the government, smuggle drugs or weapons. But in these countries, that is a very common form of transportation to vacation. And they aren't the Greyhound style. They're not worn down buses. They're not stinky buses. They don't break down. These are usually very nice buses. You can buy a first class ticket for about $3 extra, a coach, or a premium first class, which is about $10 extra. And what the premium first class gets you is an extra cracker and a soft drink. But the seats recline, and you have TV and Wi-Fi access. So guess where I rode? for 8 hours. It's not that I wanted the reclining, I wanted the Wi-Fi access. During this time, Chile or the city Talca was hosting the World Cup finals or the selection for the finals. And it was very busy. You may wonder when I travel if I stay in hotels. Usually I do not. For the days that I was in this city, this was my accommodations. This is where I stayed. I don't show you this picture to garner any type of sympathy. This is what I choose to stay. I could stay in a hotel. A lot of American preachers, when they travel, they do stay in hotels. I'd rather stay with the people that I'm going to be working with. I'd rather stay with them, sleep where they sleep, eat where they eat, and eat what they eat. There's more respect, more, just get to know the people better this way. Uh, it's not very nice, but inside it's very humble. It had everything that I needed. And I enjoyed my stay there. I enjoy my stay everywhere I go. But this home, the owner, he runs a business out of his home, and he does reupholsters, uh, couches and things of that nature. So we went to the area where the soccer players were trying out, and we did some street preaching there. And this is a part of that. And we had some people that took. Now it says here, take the sign down. It's our turn, and divided we fall. Now the problem with this church here is that for years, two churches meet or had met in one building. And their reasoning for that was, well, they felt they had some doctrinal reasons to be divided. And they had two signs and removable signs that they would place in the front of the building. Sundays at a certain time, one group would meet, and it would say Church of Christ, with the name of the community that they lived in. And then when they finished the worship service, they would take their sign down, and then the next church would come in, same Church of Christ as well, but with a different community name. It's be like we say South Side and West Side. They would come in and put up their sign, same community. And then one group would meet on Wednesday night, and the other group would meet on Thursday night. So the neighborhood people, they all knew that two churches met there, and they were both churches of Christ. They were both Christians, but they were divided. And that didn't speak well. This group here is one group, and they had some visitors from the other church. I'd never met them. This is the first time that I've been here to this church. I did not know that they were divided, and it really didn't matter much because I got to speak with both of them, and I got to preach at both churches. I started at 8 o'clock for the first church, and when I saw them taking down the sign, another group coming in put up another sign. I asked what was going on. They told me what's going on, and I asked if I could stay and be a part of their service, and they said, well, yeah, but we need a preacher because ours isn't coming in today. So you'll see at the end of the presentation what the result was after a few days with them and having Bible studies with both groups. I then went to a city called Temuco. I had to take a plane because that's about 18 hours of a bus ride. So I took a plane, and this is a very nice city. We did some street preaching there. The man with the microphone, he is a preacher. He is one of the preachers that has been there the longest. The church in Temuco is one of the original churches that was started in Chile back in the 50s. So when this preacher by the name of Sergio Pino, when he started the church there or started preaching, he was a teenager. And he has been preaching faithfully. He is an Uber driver, a taxi driver, door dasher, whatever he needs to do so he can continue to preach the gospel there. The fellow in the white sweater, he was the one that traveled with me everywhere I went. He is the one that usually gets my itinerary together and will travel wherever I go in Chile. He's always afraid that I'm going to get hurt and wants to make sure that I go and come safely wherever I am. This is a church building. in Temuco. Doesn't look like our church building, does it? It's you'll notice here how it's how the gate comes down. That rolling gate is part of the security. There's a lot of crime where the church building is. They could move out, but they don't. They could go to a safer place, but they decided to stay where they are because that's the type of people they want to reach, the people that know that they need the gospel. And the majority of the folks that you see there are not members of the church. They're people that live in that little community, in that where that church building is. And they heard that we were having a gospel meeting. They responded to the invitation during the street preaching that we did, and they showed up. And they stayed throughout the weekend for the entire meeting. And they seem like a happy group, don't they? And that's all of them together. So what I'd like for you to understand is that for some of these people, the gospel is the best thing that they've ever heard. That is really liberating. That is freedom. They don't have um, uh, the financial freedoms that we have. They don't have the welfare system that we have. So if there's crime, if there's hunger, they have to figure it out for themselves. So when there's sickness, when there's crime, when there's financial problems or family problems, and somebody comes to them and says, Jesus is the answer, they want to hear about that answer. From there, I went to another city, small town actually, called Loncoche. And this is the elderly couple there are the ones that have always had me in their home. Every time I went there, they've always had me in their home. This was the last time that I would see them. The lady, she passed away. She had cancer. When I was there, she had just been informed that she had cancer, and she died within a couple of months after I left. The man, when I was getting this slideshow together last night, I was informed that he had died last night. But they were the ones that founded the church in that little town. He built the church building. You'll see that towards the end of the slideshow, a small church building. That is their son. And we are in the church building. That is the church building. Again, built by this man that you saw in the previous picture. And most of them are elderly people. It is a mining town. And there's really not much activity as far as a church is concerned. They're not growing. They haven't been growing. When preachers go to visit them, they will call everyone everyone in the directory, which is not many, and they'll have a short meeting because they can do that quickly, and everyone's retired. From there, I went to the place that I stayed there the longest. The city is called Niebla. And this was actually the church that invited me way back in 2003, I believe. And in 2003, the man that you see very close to us, he had hair. Well, more hair. Um, and when I first went there, they didn't have a roof in their building. They were just building it. Uh, and There's just one picture now. You'll see more later. Um, but this is an interesting group. They all of them come from Pentecostalism, and they uh, they don't have any of the hallelujahs and amens during the sermon, during the preaching, but during prayer is when they say their amens and hallelujahs. They're very vocal during prayer. Went to another city, one of the largest cities in Chile, called Valparaíso, Valley of the Paradise. And in other places of Chile and the US and any other country I've been to, when I ask for help to go door knocking, guess how many people I get jumping up and down and say, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go. Not too many. I don't like to do it. And the reason that I don't like to do it in the US is because I don't think it's effective. Not in our time, it's not effective anymore. Not as effective. In third world countries, It is somewhat, but not as much. But here in Valparaiso, everyone wants to go door knocking. Everyone, the Valley of Paradise. And every U.S. preacher that's ever gone with me, I tell them about going door knocking, and they say, "Oh man, that never works. I don't really think I want to do that. I'm kind of shy." But when they get to Valparaiso, they can't wait to do it once they see Valparaiso. That's just the countryside, the city side. The church was started by four men that are waiters at this five-star restaurant. And they happened to be walking on the beach, well, serving food on the beach, because from there they walk down and take food on the beach if that's where customers want to eat. And they met a preacher there on the beach who was passing out flyers. And these four men decided that they wanted to study some, and they made an appointment, and they studied. And these four started a church in Valparaiso. Now I'm going to show you the church building. You see that little green shack? That's a church building right on the beach. This is why people want to do door knocking when we go to Valparaiso, because the door knocking they do is on the beach, right there on the beach. Isn't that amazing? So the green shack there belongs to the restaurant, and that's where they house supplies and things that the restaurant might need. They rent it out too. Well, they let the church use it every Sunday and every Wednesday night. And they let the four men, waiters, they let them have the time off that they need to worship. So it's quite interesting. It is amazing that the church started by accident, if you will. And there's a scene when I was preaching. I looked out the window behind me, and that's what I saw. And there's where we are getting ready to start church. We went and spoke to some people. The two people that you see sitting there having their backs to us, one of the young men is a Christian. He was talking to this young lady and inviting her to church, just trying to get her to see if she wanted to join us. And then there's a lady that you see sitting over here on the it'd be my right, I guess your left. Um, she was waiting to get in to start worship or a Bible study. She had gone to the beach with her family, and she saw that we were setting up and asked what was going on. We told her, and she said, "Well, I thought you were going to give away food, but I guess spiritual food would be better than physical food." And she was waiting for us to start our services. This is one of the waiters, very young, and he is the one that sets all the services up. Now, you might be concerned because you'll see Coca-Cola, you'll see food here, and it is what it is. Sometimes churches in other countries don't do exactly what we do, how we do it, and you got to meet them where they are. And when I go and preach in other places, that's my attitude. I meet them where they are, and then we build from there. If I arrive and I start attacking or trying to destroy whatever they have, then I won't be able to have an in. But they are learning and they're growing. And there'll be a few more pictures of them here later on. From there, I went to La Serena del Norte. North means north, or norte means north, sorry. I guess north means north to you too, doesn't it? And that means that's because there's a South Serena. And they're separated by a street, by a highway, north and south. And there's two churches. One is the north and one's in the south. The one in the north is one of the churches that's been there the longest. In 2003, this is one of the churches that I went to visit. And they're meeting in a community center. Every community, every small neighborhood has a community center. It's like what we rent out when we have our potlucks, pitch-ins. Every neighborhood has one. These two churches, the one that is Serena del Norte and Serena del Sur, they worship in these community centers. It's like $20 an hour, and they use it for 2 hours on Sundays. Niebla. This is where I first started in 2003. This is the church that I visit every year, the one that invites me every year, that has me the most in their place. The church building, I told you when they first started, they didn't have a roof. They were just building it. They were in a rush because it was during the summer, and this is what they could see without walls. So it's a very nice, serene area. If you remember the first map I showed you, it's all coastline. It's long coastline. So you can look almost in any direction and you'll see a coast. Um, so it's a beautiful place. The people are even more so beautiful. They have Bible studies. On Thursdays, they meet in the building for a Bible study like we do on Wednesday nights. Sunday mornings, they meet for 2.5 hours. And then on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they meet in people's homes. So when Les said this morning that encouraged us to study with each other, meet with each other, that we have more interaction, that's what they do. And not the whole church meets at the same time in each other's homes, but they're very active in meeting in each other's homes. I don't know if you can see, there's a lady in bed. You see that? The kitchen, bedroom, it's all one room house. And the lady has Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's where she can't get out of bed. I mean, she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know anything. She, all her life, had been a member of the church since she was a little child. What she does know are the hymns. So that's one of the reasons they have Bible study in this home, because they can't get her out. And the only thing that's familiar to her are the hymns. So during the service, during a Bible study, she'll say, "Shut up, you're too loud." She'll say some silly things. But then when we start singing whatever hymn, she wants to be sat up and she starts singing. She'll take over. She could. She wants to lead the songs. And then when we stop, she starts crying. There's some things that are familiar when you have Alzheimer's. I don't know why that keeps on popping up. The home that I stayed in said that asked if I would make them some yeast bread. Chileans love bread. Every meal has bread. So much bread that you get tired of it. And I never thought that I would get tired of bread. So they had me there making some bread and to have a Bible study. See if you can hear this. Can you make that hymn out? Which hymn is it? Yeah, and they're singing it too slow for the battle belongs to the Lord, but they were learning that hymn. This man is a retired firefighter. He was hurt during a fire, and he lives right behind the church building. He's in charge of the grounds. His name is John Quiros. Very loving. His father is a Christian. His wife and children are members of the church. They all live behind the building. One of the last places that I went, and I've been here twice. This was my second time there. It doesn't look like Chile, does it, like the rest of the country? This is the northernmost part of the country, is the desert. It's called Calama. It's ugly. It's nasty. It looks like my place where I'm from, the west part of Texas, the desert. It is hot year round. It is full of dirt. It's a mining town. They mine lithium, iron. It's like the Wapaka foundry, but that's all they do. The people that live there are mostly immigrants from Venezuela. It's cheap labor, and they work hard. They don't ask many questions. They don't have to worry about OSHA or any safety. Uh, uh, well, no safety. They just work them and until they give out and go back home or don't come out of the mining holes. The church there, or this is a nightlife. I mean, it's just ugly. Most Chileans that are Chileans, they don't live there. This is just a place for immigrants, for Peruvians, because this is connected right by Peru. And the church there is started by Venezuelans that came from their country as Christians, wanted a place to worship, and they started a church. And they are very faithful. They work hard. This young man is probably about 26 years old. He is their preacher, also works in the mines. I showed you a picture last year, I believe, of a place where after preaching, we had a short discussion, and the lady said that she wanted to become a Christian, she and her son, and they didn't have a baptistry. So they got some 2x4s, nailed them up, and got some sheathing plastic and made a baptistry. I mean, within an hour, filled it up. It was cold, and that lady was baptized. So this place right here. Um, and this is they're meeting out of a home, somebody's home, out of their garage. This is the patio, but all those there are members of the church. What is on your extreme left, right? Children, a child is on your right or your left? Okay. Uh, well, the closest to me. Those two are new Christians. They became Christians during this trip. And then the young lady that has ripped pants, and then the lady that has the older lady has ripped pants. They became Christians the last time I was there. These are the men that are the men of the church. They have no elders, and they're the ones that do the teaching and the preaching. Was just a clown. I ended my preaching trip in the city of Santiago, the capital. Where I landed is where I finished my preaching tour, and that was just very convenient because I was flying out of this country. I mean, out of the city. The church building is behind that type of fencing, that secured wire. It is one of the most dangerous places in the entire country. And the building has been broken into several times. They've had their chairs or pews, their television, their projectors stolen, PA system stolen. And this is why they have all the security there. All of that rose back, and that's the front of their church building. It is a church that it has about 60 members, and two churches meet there. There is an older group that meets there in the evenings, Sunday evenings. They come from about an hour away. They're not interested in becoming one group. Don't know why. Don't know the history. This is a train station, very what you would expect from a country like this. That's a church. That's the inside of the church. That's the largest church that I was able to be with. I've ever been able to be with in Chile. There's another church that's larger than this, but they have embraced the 80-70 doctrine. So it's hard to get an in with them. So going back to Loncoche, the older couple that the lady died of cancer and the man passed away yesterday, that's the church building that he built. His house is right beside that church building. And here we are having a Bible study there in Valparaiso, right on the beach. This is a church that I told you was divided. Two churches meet in one building. They take down the sign. So the last night of our meeting, both churches came together. They settled their differences. And it's just nice. So they're still together. A couple of people, a few people have not been able to swallow their pride and they're meeting in their homes. But as I often said, that every area needs a church that's called a sorehead church, where the soreheads go until they can swallow their pride and come back to the fold. But the church is strong, it's thriving, they're working in their community, and I have an invitation to go back whenever I'm in the area again. This is the patio in the church, the patio where the building is. That is the one of the groups that was divided, and they're now one group. You see that dark man, those three black people there in the audience? They are they're from an island close by. Uh, he'll come to me after I finish this presentation. But the French Creoles. They speak French and they speak French. And they understand enough Spanish to do business. And they're members of the church. And they have joined themselves with this group, and they're doing the best that they can to learn Spanish. The Chileans, they're a very proud people. They feel that their country has been overrun by Venezuelans. And because of immigration, it's illegal immigration. They're tired of it. They just now had a transition of government to a very right-wing government, like what we're experiencing. They started deporting a lot of Venezuelans, a lot of Ecuadorians. And Chileans have decided they're not going to learn another language to accommodate anyone, even if they're Christians. So that's something that we, the other preacher from Chile, and I spoke with the Chilean brethren, that as Christians, we don't need to be divided over politics, over race, over languages, that we need to embrace each other and preach the gospel, because there is no Jew, Gentile, freeman, or slave. This is a church in the desert. And it's so interesting. You laugh when I talk about me being late. But these brethren here, they're supposed to start Sunday mornings at 10 in the morning. But it's Sunday around 5 p.m. when they started. You talk about being late. It's because they're illegal in the country, and their employers take advantage of them, knowing that if they quit, where are they going to go? So they'll work them 18 to 20 hours a day. So they get to church when they can. And when the majority could get to the church that day was in the evening. Even though it was Sunday morning at whatever time they were supposed to start, they got there. And they know it does not matter what hour they can get to church, they have to meet on the first day of the week. They have to do it. And they understand that there's not an excuse for them not to meet, even if they've worked 20 hours that day. And they're usually falling asleep when somebody's preaching. And it's not because the sermon's boring. I never preach a boring sermon. It's because they're tired. They're very tired. And their children come with them, and they'll stay with them. So I appreciate all the help um, that you gave me, that you've prayed for this work, that you financially contributed, the questions that you asked while I was gone, that you texted me, that you sent emails, some of you called. Uh, Either you forgot that I was gone, but you still called and I took your calls, and I probably have to take out a loan to pay for those calls, as I would never not take your calls. And thank you for making sure that Jenny and my kids had a ride to church and wherever they needed to go. I really appreciate that. Is there any questions that you would like to ask?
Is there anybody that speaks English or a percentage of them that speak English, or is it all Spanish?
No, several of them speak English, but it's a very limited English. Um, Chile went through a period that the government believed that everyone should have a 4-year college degree. And because of that, a lot of them do know English, but also there's a huge unemployment because everyone has or a lot of people have a 4-year degree, and there are no plumbers, no carpenters, no tradesmen, but they're professionals still living at home, but they understand English.
Is their Spanish dialect pretty much the same, what you know?
It's one of the worst Spanish languages that I've ever heard, dialects that I've ever heard. And they admit that. But it's because you have the German influence, you have the Peruvian influence, and the Bolivian influence, and they all bring their own indigenous dialects. And Jenny and I, we used to watch a couple of shows from Chile at night, and we'd have to stop it, go back, listen to it again, put the closed captions on, and sometimes the closed captions would just turn it off. The show themselves would turn off their own closed captions or put question marks. This is a terrible, terrible Spanish. Sometimes I would have to have an interpreter, even though that I think I speak a pretty good Spanish. Anything else? Yes. The fellow that's bald, his name is Marcos. He usually likes, well, he's standing right there. I get a close up of him. The one in the red shirt. It's him and another preacher that I'll let them know when I can go, and they'll get an itinerary together based on the availability on the churches that have expressed an interest. They usually like to take me to churches that have doctrinal problems, that have infighting, that have issues. And it's not because I like doctrinal problems. It's not because of that, but it's because when an American goes to these countries, people are more apt to listen to a foreigner and study with the foreigner than they are with their own people. And I think it's the same way with any one of us. I can preach a sermon or teach a class on whatever topic, and then we get a gospel preacher come in for a meeting. He preaches the same thing, and you can say, well, man, that was I'd never heard that before. And it's because a professional is somebody that comes from 2 counties away. So they arrange it, and that's why I trust their judgment, and they take me to places that usually it's not going to be a place that I go for sightseeing. Yes. Yeah, the question is, how does he keep in contact with these churches? Well, both of them stay in contact with these churches. It's because, yeah, they do travel within the country quite a bit. They do a lot of online teaching. I myself teach in Chile uh, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week via Zoom or Google Meet or some online medium. And I get to see all these people that we've seen on here, plus more. People that we studied with that did not become Christians then, they've now become Christians or since then become Christians or are still studying. They meet up with me on via online. So we say that, but they stay in contact with them and they go and visit them, visit these groups. But I do want to point out that my trips to Chile are not trips that I make usually once a year. I mean, that I make once, and then 5 years later I go back. I try to go every year because of these connections, because of these relationships, and they look forward to it. They look forward to working. They look forward to studying. They look forward to, all right, well, we started a church here back in 2003. We're ready to start another work somewhere else. Would you help us? They're looking to start elders, or to start elders. They're looking to name elders in some of these places. That's how much they've grown. And it's because of folks like you that are interested in preaching the gospel. And that's what Matthew 28 teaches. Something interesting about Matthew 28 says to the to the apostles, the 11, Matthew 28:18, go into all the world and preach the gospel. Now, if you read that, you'll notice that Jesus is talking to the disciples. So some people stop there and say, well, that commandment is not for us. A great commission is not for us. It's just for the 11, because that's who he's talking to. But then the next line says, and teach them everything that I've taught you. So what Jesus taught them about the Great Commission, they were supposed to teach us about the Great Commission. So you might not be able to go to these places. I can't go to other places that I'd like to go to. But when we contribute, when we send money to our Filipino preachers, brethren, or like when I go to Chile and you contribute, we're fulfilling the Great Commission that way. When we talk to our neighbors in our own community, we're fulfilling the Great Commission. It is it's actually the main job that we have as a church, to preach the gospel. Thank you.
Yeah, did you say one of the congregations had elders now?
Yes.
The first one, I thought you said that